Good afternoon. This is call number 2020-46098 in the interest of Daniel Prine. All parties and witnesses, please raise your right hands to be sworn. Right hand, man. You solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
All right, ma'am. Please state your name and your relationship to the child.
I'm Tammy Kennedy, and I'm his mother.
And representing the state of Texas Attorney General's office.
Andrea Eoff.
Lord, note that the non-custodial parent is Homer Prine. Mr. Prine was served under TRCP Rule 106 on April 18th, 2022 at 3:21 p.m. at 315 Sheldon Road in Channelview, Harris County, Texas. He's not filed an answer or made an appearance. Is that correct, Ms. E.O.?
That's correct, Your Honor.
We'll proceed by default.
Thank you. Your Honor, I'd like to call Tammy Kennedy at this point in time.
Go ahead.
All right. Ms. Kennedy, will you please state your full name for the record?
Tammy Lynn Kennedy.
And will you state the name and age of your child?
Daniel Adam Prine, and he's 12.
All right. And Ms. Kennedy, before we start talking about the specifics of your order, I want to get some testimony on the record about Mr. Prine's home. He lives at 315 Sheldon Road. Is that right?
Yes, in a travel trailer behind that restaurant.
So 315 Sheldon Road is a restaurant property that has a travel trailer sitting on it. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And Mr. Prine lives in that travel trailer, and
Yes.
And is he friends with the person who owns that restaurant and that land?
Yes.
All right. And when was the last time you visited that travel trailer?
About 2 weeks ago, I took Daniel by there to see him, but he never answered.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much for that, Ms. Kennedy. Now I'd like to move to talking about the relationship that you have with Mr. Prine when it comes to parenting your child. You have, for the most part, been parenting Daniel on your own. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am.
And Mr. Prine has not been involved in helping you make decisions or been a very active parent?
No.
And why is that?
I quit I take him to visit him, but he never has say so. He tells me he don't want nothing to do with him. And when I take him to visit him, he never visits with him. He just sits there and just stares at him.
Mm-hmm.
The last time that I attempted Daniel to spend the night.
Actually, Miss Kennedy, we can stop there. My next question would be, would it be fair to say that Mr. Prine has problems with drug abuse?
Yes.
And have you personally witnessed Mr. Prine doing drugs? You muted yourself, Miss Kennedy. Can you unmute? All right, we can hear you now. All right. I will repeat my question. Have you witnessed Mr. Prine doing drugs?
Yes.
And has Daniel seen Mr. Prine do drugs?
Yes.
Do you know what kind of drugs he did in front of Daniel?
Honestly, I don't know the name of it because I don't do drugs, but he said he put a little white ball into a pencil and started smoking it. Like a pencil, like a casing of a pen.
Okay. So would it be fair to say that he may have smoked crack in front of Daniel?
Yes.
Okay. And did this happen the last time you took Daniel to visit him?
No, it's been 6 months.
So was 6 months ago the last time he saw Daniel?
No, that's when he attempted to spend the night with his daddy. But about 2 weeks ago is when he seen him, but he never got out of the car. He just said hi, bye, and that was it because his dad didn't want to talk to him.
Okay. So 6 months ago, you let your son spend the night and Mr. Prine smoked crack in front of him. Is that a fair thing to say?
Yes.
And then after that, they just saw each other in public once and Mr. Prine did not interact with him. Is that fair to say?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So based on Mr. Prine's drug use and the type of parent he's been, are you saying that it would not be in Daniel's best interest if Mr. Prine was a joint conservator with you?
Exactly. Yes, ma'am.
And are you asking that the court make you Daniel's sole managing conservator and Mr. Prine a possessory conservator?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And are you asking the court to appoint you as the parent who designates Daniel's primary residence?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And is that residence going to be within Harris County and counties that touch Harris County?
Yes.
All right. And when it comes to visitation for Mr. Prine, do you want the court to order day visits only?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you want those day visits to be from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on the first, third, and fifth Saturdays of each month?
Yes, ma'am.
And do you want the court to say that those visits are going to be supervised by you or another adult that you choose?
Yes, ma'am.
And why is it that you want that supervised day visitation?
Because that way, because I don't want it at nighttime, because during the daytime I can have somebody with me, because Homer's tried to run off with Daniel before.
Okay. So you're afraid that he's going to do drugs in front of Daniel, is that right?
Yes.
And you're afraid that he may try to take Daniel and run off?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Are you comfortable with Mr. Prine having your home address and your phone number?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're comfortable if he visits at your home, is that right?
Yes, because I have other people that live with me.
Okay. Do you know what Mr. Prine does for a living?
Just side jobs.
All right. Do you have any sort of evidence of how much money he makes?
No, ma'am.
No. But is it true that at one point back in 2021, he was receiving some unemployment benefits?
Yes, he admitted it to me, and I reported him because he
All
had
right.
no proof of any kind of income.
Okay. So for today, because he doesn't currently have any income, are you asking the court to calculate child support for him using the minimum wage presumption?
Yes,
And Daniel is his only child, is that right?
that I know of. Yes, I heard he had two more, but Daniel's the only one I have with him.
And it's true that he does not have a court order for these other children, correct?
No.
Correct. So are you asking the court to order Mr. Prine to pay child support of $217 a month beginning August 1st, 2022?
Yes.
And are you asking the court to order you to continue using Medicaid for Daniel?
Yes.
And are you asking the court to order Mr. Prine to pay medical support of $57 a month?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And are you asking the court to issue a judgment for back child support in the amount of $16,638?
Yes, ma'am.
And does that cover the time period from August 3rd, 2016 to today?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And are you asking that that amount be paid in $134 a month beginning August 1st?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. If the court were to enter an order that had all the things you've asked for today, would that order be in Daniel's best interest?
Yes.
And are you asking the court to make an order to that effect today?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I'll pass the witness, Your Honor.
Okay, the court will approve the order as submitted. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Ms. Kennedy, you are done for the day. The judge will sign your order soon, and you are free to go.
Thank you.
Is this one Marroquin?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, this cause number 2021-79055 in the interest of Luis Marroquin Jr. All parties or witnesses, please raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I'm afraid she is not connected to audio yet, sir.
Oh, she has. Okay. Maria. What do I do? Share screen? Okay, well, what do I do here? Share screen, or somehow I click something and everything came up. All right. All right, please unmute yourself, Miss Marroquin. Can you hear me? You need to unmute yourself, please. There you are.
Okay.
All right, this call is number 2021-79055 in the interest of Luis Marroquin Jr. All parties witnesses, raise your right hand to be sworn. Do you solemnly swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes.
All right, ma'am, please state your name and your relationship to the child.
Patrice Marquin, mother.
All right, and representing the Attorney General, State of Texas.
Andrea Eoff.
Court will note that the non-custodial parent is Luis Marroquin. Mr. Marroquin was personally served on January 4th, 2022 at 7:24 p.m. at 8911 Miller Road 2 in Houston, Harris County, Texas. He's not appeared or filed an answer. Is that correct, Ms. Eo?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, we'll proceed by default.
Thank you. Your Honor, we'd like to call Ms. Marroquin at this time.
All right.
All right, Ms. Marroquin, will you please state your full name for the record?
Patrice Marquin.
All right, Ms. Marroquin, I apologize. Will you state the name and age of your child?
Louis Marquin, age 8.
All right. And Ms. Marroquin, is Mr. Marroquin Lewis's father?
Yes,
And you and Mr. Marroquin were married at one point in time, is that correct?
correct.
And Lewis was born while you were married to Mr. Marroquin?
Yes,
All right. And so are you asking the court to establish Mr. Marroquin as Luis's father legally today and establish the parent-child relationship between the two of them?
yes.
All right. Now, since you and Mr. Marroquin separated, what kind of co-parenting relationship have you had?
There's no communication at all, none.
When is the last time you spoke to Mr. Marroquin?
It's been like 3, 4 years.
All right. So you spoke to him probably 3 to 4 years ago. When was the last time he saw your son?
Like 4 or 5 years.
All right. And why has it been such a long time since you guys have been in contact?
I just don't have any communication with him. He has history of violence, drug use, and I just didn't want that around my son.
And is it true that he has violently assaulted you in the past?
Yes,
And has he ever spent time in jail for
Yes.
assault?
yes,
Do you remember how long that was?
no,
All right. Was he in jail in 2018?
yes,
Was he in jail in 2019?
yes,
All right. And so at that point in time, he was presumably sentenced to at least 2 years in jail and served at least that amount of time. Is that true?
correct.
Okay. So based on the history of violence between the two of you and the long period that you guys haven't had any contact with each other, are you asking the court to appoint you as the sole managing conservator of your child and make him a possessory conservator?
Yes,
And are you asking the court to make you the parent who designates Luis's primary residence?
yes,
And is that within Harris and contiguous counties?
correct.
All right. Whenever it comes to visitation for Mr. Marroquin, is it true that you would like to have him do visitation that's supervised by the Domestic Relations Office?
Yes.
And why is it that you want that supervised visitation?
Again, like I said, history of drug use and history of violence.
So would it be fair to say that you believe that Luis might be harmed or exposed to drugs if he doesn't have supervision?
Correct, yes.
Okay. Do you know what Mr. Marroquin does for a living?
He's a mechanic.
All right. Do you know how much he makes?
No,
So are you asking the court to order child support based on the minimum wage presumption today?
Yes.
And does Mr. Marroquin have support orders in place for any other children that you know of?
No.
So are you asking the court to order Mr. Marroquin to pay child support in the amount of $217 a month beginning August 1st, 2022?
Yes.
And are you asking the court to order him to pay medical support in the amount of $113 a month beginning August 1st, 2022?
Yes.
And are you asking for that medical support amount to help reimburse you for the premiums you're paying for private insurance for him?
Yes.
And are you asking the court to order you to continue providing that private medical and dental insurance?
Yes.
All right. And are you asking the court for a judgment for retroactive child support today in the amount of $15,169?
Yes.
And is that to cover the time period from January 1st, 2020 to today?
Yes.
And are we starting that retroactive support at January 1st, 2020 because Mr. Marroquin was incarcerated in 2018 and 2019?
Yes.
All right. Are you asking that that retroactive judgment be paid at $150 a month beginning August 1st?
Yes.
Okay. Are you comfortable with Mr. Marroquin having your address and phone number?
No.
Is it because you believe that you may be subject to future abuse or harassment?
Correct. Yes.
Can you tell the court why you feel that way?
Because he has history of showing up, waiting for me when I get home, or blowing up my phone with nonsense, just harassing me, and just popping out of nowhere.
If he knows your address, ma'am, is he likely to cause you or your child any harassment, abuse, or serious harm or injury?
I don't know. I mean,
Has he
history
harassed
of
you in the past?
I'm sorry.
Has he harassed you in the past?
Yes.
Has he abused you in the past?
Yes.
Is he likely to do it again?
Yeah, I wouldn't put it past him. Yes.
All right.
All right.
Further, Ms. Hill?
No, Your Honor.
All right, the court will approve the order submitted. Thank you.
Thank you.
And this is cause number 2021-30052 in the interest of Isaiah Craig Moore. It's a USO matter. Father is not, or the non-custodial parent, Craig Anthony Moore Jr. is not present. He was personally served on April 16th, 2022 at 7:41 a.m. at 13907 Chuckwood Road in Houston, Harris County, Texas. And it's my understanding he has not filed an answer or appeared. Is that correct, ma'am?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, please identify yourself for the record.
Andrea Eoff. I represent the Office of the Attorney General for the state of Texas.
All right, let's proceed.
Your Honor, we would like to request that you establish paternity in this case for the child Isaiah Moore between Mr. Moore and this child. We'd also like to ask that you order child support based on the minimum wage presumption. In this case, he has two other children. He has support orders for two other children in place. So guideline support would be calculated at 16%. We'd like to ask that you order him to pay support in the amount of $177 a month, beginning August 1st, 2022. We would like for you to order that the mother of this child continue providing Medicaid health insurance for the child, and that you order Mr. Moore to pay $38 a month in cash medical support, and there is no request for retroactive support.
All right, the court will approve the order submitted. Thank you.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Thursday, I guess I forget to tell you tomorrow. It's